Very good morning to all our dear viewers outside there. Welcome to another edition of The Other Perspective, brought to you by Alliance for Finance Monitoring, the political finance watchdog in Africa. The Other Perspective takes place every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 midday East African time. My name is Abel Eseru, and I'm going to be today's host of the show. We are going to discuss about reading into Parliament's behavior on national issues, promising signs or too early.
Something is wrong. No one is coming to me. Nobody is minding about me. No one is yearning to see me. Hey? What is the problem?
Then we should go before they come.
Are you mad? I changed all this money for them. I want them to ask. I want to give them all this money, but no one is minding.
What should I do? How do I kind of...
You go there and tell them to. You go. No. You just go. Talk to them one by one.
Hey, what has happened?
Exactly. Thank you for coming. You know, this whole place has changed. What is the matter?
What is it exactly?
No one is yearning to see me. Nobody is minding. No one is asking for money. Nothing.
Oh, is that what you mean? No. Honorable, let me tell you this.
Yes.
Things changed.
Changed?
Yes. As we, your campaigning managers, we agreed that we need parliamentarians, our honorable MPs, who present issues in Parliament.
So is that what you decided?
That's what we decided.
The desire of any progressive democracy is to have citizens who focus on issue-based politics and not transactional politics, which suffocates representative democracy.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate.
So, Madam MP, I'm so honored to have you on this interview. So, for starters, how does it feel like being an MP? I want you to take me through your scope of work in this office.
Actually, I think this is something better. Why don't I hand over my office to you for something like 2 or 3 days?
That will be perfect.
It will be perfect. So when will you be free?
We can do it now.
Now? I'm going to hand over my office to you for 24 hours.
Okay.
Right. This is a list of the calls I'm expecting today. These are the phones. You make sure you note down everything.
Okay. Have a good day.
Have a good day too.
Yes, please, Officer for MP. Okay. Please, I'll call you back. Hello, Officer for MP. How may I help you? Oh my God. How much? 14. Oh my God. Okay, fine. All right. My God! This is what she goes through?
Oh, whatever. Thank God you're back. I can't do this anymore. But we agreed for 24 hours. What does that mean? I don't know how you do it. Let me just put it back. Have you got enough for your story?
Enough. I got more than what I bargained for. Thank you so much.
Voters redefined the work of an MP. I buy food, I pay for burials, I pay school fees for so many, I pay hospital bills, I buy seeds and donate.
What? Why? Tell people the bitter truth.
They don't want to know. do your job, which is
Make laws, protect the democratic government, oversee the implementation of the government programs.
they don't want to.
When will you ever put service before politics?
Tell voters I'm a politician, not a Rotarian. They should stop that begging culture of theirs.
Stop imposing such overwhelming demands on your MP. The statutory role of an MP is to perform legislation, oversight, budget approval, and representation.
Welcome, my people. A cup of coffee, please. There is tea, everything, snacks are on the way.
Your thanks, but the reason that's why we are here, our people need improved defense services. We at least need an ambulance at every center free.
My sub-county is the forest. We used to depend on the former MP's vehicle, but when he lost his elections, he took away the vehicle.
Of course.
So what does that mean?
Use your budget as a district to procure the ambulances.
If I could, I would. But unfortunately, government operates differently.
What are you saying, Chairperson? This is very serious and urgent.
Yes, I know. And why are they called local leaders then?
Local government.
You people, who sent you here?
I know, of course. We are concerned citizens who are watching people dying every day.
We've lost our beloved ones just because of poor health services.
Something has to be done.
You are right. Something has to be done, and very fast.
Yes.
That's transport for you. Go back.
But
All your concerns are taken care of. I will handle.
But
Have a
Chairman,
safe journey.
Thank you so much.
but this man seems to undermine our cause as to why we're here.
No, don't misunderstand me. This is just transport, no strings attached.
Chairman, we came here to discuss and find solution to our problems. But it seems you don't want to engage with us. Let's go and mobilize people, and you will see how serious we are.
Good citizens, let us always hold our leaders accountable. Leadership is a service, not a privilege.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate. Together, we can contribute towards enhancing democracy as a viable system of governance in Uganda.
Welcome back from that brief break. We apologize for the delays. We had some technical challenges on our side, but I want to continue from where I started from. A very good morning to all our dear viewers outside there. Welcome to another edition of The Other Perspective, which takes place every Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 midday East African time. The Other Perspective is brought to you by Alliance for Finance Monitoring, the political finance watchdog in Africa. My name is Abel Eseru, and I'm going to be today's host. We are going to be discussing about reading into Parliament's behavior on national issues, promising signs, or it's too early to tell. We have seen the 11th Parliament has started with promising trends of working for the benefit of Ugandans as the citizenry, in terms of when they have bipartisan views and positions when it comes to issues of national importance. We have seen them come out and defend the people, work for the people, represent the people when it comes to issues concerning the coffee bill, which was signed between the government of Uganda, a coffee agreement between the government of Uganda and Uganda Vinci Company, Coffee Company Limited. They rejected that agreement because the agreement seems to have been favoring the investor instead of favoring the Ugandans. And so they came up with their position and said this agreement was not signed to benefit the interests of Ugandans. So them as parliament, they rejected it. So we are looking at some of those issues. And then also there was a rejection of the 319 billion request from the Minister of Finance, which was to cater for the construction of Rubua Hospital. We do know that government already has spent over about 349 billion Ugandan money on the construction of Rubua Hospital, but up to now the hospital is not yet halfway even complete. It's still on the foundation, and members of parliament are querying why is it that they need more money, yet the money that government has already spent is not yet being utilized, and there's no cause to show that the money has been used to the task that it was meant to be used for. And then we also saw they have also disregarded the 85 billion which the Ministry of Works wanted to procure new spare parts for the Bombardier Uganda Airlines. So we want to look at all these things and discuss about them and see, is this parliament so sober enough, and is it working towards the interests of Ugandans, or is it too early for us to tell whether this, because the previous parliaments have also come like that, they would work during their first 2 years in the interest of the people. When it comes to 3rd, 4th, 5th year, they change their route or trend of work. They work towards interesting the executive. So we want to look into those matters today. So I will be joined by Mr. Felix Kafuma, who is an expert in political finance, and also a journalist, Priska Wanyenya, who reports from Parliament. She is a member of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association. So she will be giving us her insights since she's reporting from the August House. So I would like to start with you, Felix. We have seen Parliament recently, the recent trends of Parliament, as if they are representing the interest of the people. What is your take on the promising signs of 11th Parliament, and what, when it comes to issues of national importance?
Thank you so much, Abel, and all our dear viewers out there. I think I can't read much into the behavior of Parliament. It's too early for us to get really excited about it. I was looking at the behavior of the 10th Parliament and the behavior of the 9th Parliament. There's a common strand. I remember vividly the 10th Parliament. I think the first 6 months, people got so excited. They were vibrant. They were questioning a lot of accountabilities. They squeezed Parliament. I remember the PAC committee and also the Constitutional Committee. Then they squeezed Parliament. But along the way, I think it was in their second year, towards the end of the second year, when the true colors of that 10th Parliament came out. I think towards the end of the second year, the mooting of removal of, I think, the controversial age limit.
Age limit.
Yes, came up. But before there had been episodes of that Parliament starting to align more to what they call the position of the ruling party. And here we have what we call the Tyranny of Numbers. And because of that, we started to see that Parliament slowly camouflaging into the Parliament we expected. And by the time the 10th Parliament was leaving office, I think every Ugandan was tired. And I also must observe something here, that any Ugandan who has tracked parliaments from the 5th, okay, 5th will be a bit too unkind for the young generation, but from around the 7th Parliament, okay, 8th Parliament, 9th and 10th, now 11th, you'll anybody out there who follows parliamentary procedures and follows debate, because the quality of Parliament is all about the debate that is put on the floor of Parliament, the quality in the debate, the level of discussions and engagements, and the individuals who are moving motions, who are tabling bills, the way they present themselves, the decorum and all that. That's how you measure Parliament. And how I wish in this discussion we also had AFLI, because that would now help us to appreciate that we've had the quality of parliament over at least the last 4 cycle of parliaments deteriorate. And the more we have the numbers, the more we open, the more we relax and lower the requirements to become a parliamentarian, is the more you compromise quality, and the more you have people who get in there to do business. Now, to take you back to the behavior of the 10th Parliament, for me, which I remember vividly, it's they started to position themselves as legislators who, if you wanted anything to pass, they had a price. So the first 1.5 to 2 years, I think they were trying to provide a market value, putting up a bit of what I would call dramatized resistance, showing that they can really read into and represent people's aspirations, being very critical on government bills, being very critical on accountability reports, until towards when the discussions on age limit came up, they started to now present themselves as traders, parliamentary traders. And at that point, we were able to see almost everything we thought this 10th Parliament had promised as an aspiration for Ugandans. We started to see the true colors of that Parliament in the way they were passing bills. Can you imagine they could pass certain bills without reading budgets? They would just pass certain budgets without scrutinizing those budgets. I mean, we came to that point whereby Parliament became a clearing house. So for me, quickly on your question, whether now the behavior we're seeing now in this Parliament should get anybody out there very excited about it. I think for me it's a big no. It's too early. And because it's because they are doing what they are doing now. You've looked at Pinetti, the 319 billion, the Bombardier issues. I think towards the third year, second year, usually what happens is that around third year, they now start to think about getting back in parliament. So they need the money. And how do you get the money? Part of one way of fundraising for resources as a parliamentarian is to trade your primary mandate of legislating and oversight by attaching a price on it, so that you show that you are resisting, but beneath or under the table you are transacting. So eventually we'll be able to see what kind of parliament we have. Remember, most of this parliament has it has many novices, people who have just joined parliament, many of them, but also has even those who have been there for a long time. Many of them have compromised or have got their fingers burnt at some point or one or another. And also, thirdly, is that at some point they have to find a way of staying in parliament, which means they will end up compromising on their initial, what people now are preferring looking at as firm stands on these issues, because they will need that money anyway to compromise. Don't be fooled that being in parliament, I think of late primarily is more to do with making sure that you are assured of being employed. Parliament is an employment. So you work hard to make sure that you don't become unemployed after 5 years. Not to become unemployed after 5 years means that you must, in one way or another, when opportunity strikes, and opportunity always strikes, that you will relax, you will compromise your values, your ethics, when push comes to shove and you need that money. And remember, legislating in Uganda is all about who pays the piper playing the tune. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you, Felix, for that. Priska, you've just had Felix describing Parliament that most of them in the first 2 years they pause and behave in a dramatic way by trying to dramatically resist most of the things that come from the executive, and that is one of the way of them pushing for their bargaining power. And you know that most of them, the legislators, position themselves to be seen as people who are resistant, so that they can be bought off. What is your take on the current 11th Parliament in terms of, because we are seeing they are resisting most of the things that are coming from the executive. We have seen they resisted 319 billion for Lugwa Hospital, the 85 billion which was meant to procure new spare parts for the Bombardier Uganda Airlines. And also we are seeing they quashed the Pineti agreement between Uganda Coffee Company and then government of Uganda. What's your take on the current behavior of the 11th Parliament?
Okay, thanks so much, Abel and Felix. I would like to first of all apologize to our viewers for starting a little bit late. And Felix was spot on his description of Parliament, but when one asks themselves, especially when you highlight some of the things you think the 11th Parliament has achieved, one would ask, is there anything they are doing that is extraordinary, that is not within their mandate, that would warrant that hype? I mean, this is their duty. That is what they're supposed to do. It's like you're praising the fish for drinking water. So one person would argue in that same sense. And but you know, the current leadership at Parliament is trying to position itself or rebrand itself as those who are working together and getting along. The two leaders, and if you follow both of them on Twitter, they are sharing photos of them, of the two meeting ahead of the plenary sitting. Of course, there is a message they are sending to the old leadership, because you knew that the two we used not to get along. So for us who not read, if you can read through the message, you know they are, it's like a getting back. But one would ask, is it because the two leaders did not, the two past leaders failure to agree on some certain things or having a code relationship, was it the reason as to why Parliament did not live to its expectation? I tend to think the current ones are trying to, they are focusing on the wrong game anyway. But if 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 that unity can be transferred to the voters and Ugandans, that's better, because if the two leaders are getting along and the Ugandans down in the country are not, because you and I know that Uganda has become politically more polarized than it was. But as the years go on, the political intolerance is heightening. So what is the use of this, the unity being showed at the top when the voters? So I would like to see that unity translate back to the voters. And of course, they are talking of issues of a people's parliament and everything. That slogan is carried on from even the 10th parliament, the people's parliament and everything. But what is behind that slogan? What are you doing to make sure that Ugandans believe that you are working for them? You see that? And when you talk of issues like bribery and corruption that have been high within Parliament itself, among the MPs, and so you look at the recent scenario of the money that the NRM MPs were paid. to do what? After voting the speakership. So it is not any different from what was happening in the 10th parliament. You see that? And from what I know, the latest I knew from that money was that the MP who tipped journalists about that story was summoned by the people she quoted. And when she reached the office, she found fellow MPs angry, who were angry, waiting to pounce on her like the hungry hyenas. So she entered and they asked her, "Why did you leak this information to the media?" It's the MP who told us, side off record. And she said, "Is there anything wrong? Did I lie about my revelation that you paid us money? And the mere fact that you used to pay us, you used to give me dollars, this time you gave me shillings." So she turned around to even criticize the giver, why this time she gave out shillings. So, and so as she put up that statement, she even said, "Actually, what brought me here this time around is not to even listen to your lectures," telling the fellow MP. "This time around, I've come to pick more dollars because I'm broke." So the rest of the MPs were the people who were in the room were very shocked at how bold she was, because here is someone who they were coming to roast her, but she told them, "I'm broke." So the giver ended up getting the money and gave her more dollars. She matched out. So the practice is not any different. Probably now the currency is changing from now the Ugandan shillings to now the dollar. So if those are if anyone is to read into the signs of what lies ahead, because this is a practice that was common, because we know the payment of lifting the age limit. There was another, I think the 10th one, that was about 5M that each of them got to buy suits. You remember when that just went in? So all this, it's not any different. That is why when I got to learn of the topic that was going to be discussed, I'm like, isn't this something that we anticipate of the MPs? Aren't they supposed to be on the side of their voters? I mean, their interests that matter most. So, and it is, they've come at a time when there was a ban on Vimeza, where people would usually sit and have political arguments or talk shows. And when those were banned, here came technology. You see, now Ugandans are able to speak out and hold their leaders accountable. And and because now the people in power, the politicians, think they have lost control over Ugandans. So now the war is being turned towards technology. You know that bill that Muhammad Nsereko is trying to come up with on curbing computer misuse. He thinks the current legislation of computer misuse, annoying the president and everything, computer harassment, is not enough. So they are trying to tighten. And you could see when he asked for leave of parliament to go and draft, because he's still drafting the bill, he has not yet come formally before parliament. You could see the MPs were excited about it, and most of them were in support, because they said the insults are too much. And when you look at the website of the 11th parliament and the 10th, there is a difference, because the 10th parliament had details of all MPs. It included their marital status, it included their academic backgrounds and schools they went to. But that is something that is not in the 11th parliament, because right now there is only the name, constituency, email, and contact. And the reason as to why the others, education, were removed this time around, it's because you Ugandans, they gave you that information. And what did you use? Each time a member would make a controversial topic, you would go and look for their education background. And hell will break loose if that person made something they are not even, they didn't even study. I remember one of the victims was Peter Ogwang when he was in ICT. They would mock him because I remember I think he didn't even have a bachelor's by then. I'm not so sure. So the mocking. So this time around was they're like, no, let's give them the contact so that we hold back. But if when they are filling in their biodata, everything is. Because the issue of saying they are still looking through their data cannot hold because it's almost a year since they swore in. So you cannot tell me that it can take a full year for you to upload such information. So some people may think the issue of the website, how it is being placed is something small to ignore, but it tells you on the issue of transparency and accountability, because you have seen how MPs were held accountable because of their education background. You don't want it to continue. So back then, at least would try to know this one is, even you, when you're making a research and probably want to talk to some MPs, it would help you to go through and know which MP can I talk to who has. But now we are just guessing. Probably we try to guess by the committees they're on, but it also doesn't give us concrete. So when you come to the shortfalls of how low the 11th has sunk, the 11th Parliament has sunk, is even withholding such information on the biodata. So I can't probably understand the excitement around the Luwa and everything, because even the 11th Parliament had oil handshake and everything. They recommended people to refund the money, but none of them. So we are yet to see, although the speaker yesterday hinted about it, saying there are people who are saying there is nothing Parliament can do, and she said the Parliament can make any decisions, but at this rate, Ugandans need action. They want that coffee agreement cancelled. You see that? They want the hospital in Lubowa to the construction to take place. They are no longer interested in statements. If the hospital is not going to take place, then government should take on the project, and Ugandans are now yearning for actions more than statements or press conferences being held.
Thank you, Priska. We break, and then we shall return with the next segment.
Something is wrong. No one is coming to me. Nobody is minding about me. No one is yearning to see me. Hey, what is the problem?
Then we should go before they come.
Are you mad? I sent all this money for them. I want them to ask. I want to give them all this money, but no one is minding.
What should I do? How do I care?
You go there and tell them to. You go. No. You just go. Talk to them one by one.
Hey, Honorable, what has happened?
Exactly. Thank you for coming. You know, this whole place has changed. What is the matter?
What is it exactly?
No one is yearning to see me. Nobody is minding. No one is asking for money. Nothing.
Oh, is that what you mean? No. Honorable, let me tell you this.
Yes.
Things changed.
Changed?
Yes. As we, your campaigning managers, we agreed that we need parliamentarians, our honorable MPs, who present issues in Parliament.
So is that what you decided?
That's what we decided.
The desire of any progressive democracy is to have citizens who focus on issue-based politics and not transactional politics, which suffocates representative democracy.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate.
Welcome back from that brief break. We are going to go back. Felix, you initially discussed about how MPs are trying to dramatically resist some of the proposals from the executive, as in the form that they are trying to position themselves to get something so that they can be able to also, MPs spend a lot of money during elections, and they have a lot of debts. I want your thought on this I-11 parliament. Do you think they are likely to revert back to the old ways of work like the previous parliaments have ever done before? Because we saw the 10th parliaments, the 9th parliament, the 8th parliament also came with firebrand, but after some time, the third year into their time in office, they retreat back and they become processing offices for the executive. Everything that comes, they just pass it over. Do you think we are likely to go back to such a situation?
Thank you, Abel. Viewers out there need to understand the phenomena called parliament. And there are certain things that cut across all parliaments, right from the ever since I began following parliament. I think right from the 8th, 9th, 10th, and now 11th. And it also speaks to the process through which we get our leaders, partly touches it. And let me first help you again out there is that, remember, every new parliament, you have a purging of old MPs and new MPs coming in. So the attrition rate is high. So you have very many new MPs. That's a very interesting perspective to it. Why it is interesting is that many of these new MPs are trying to find their feet. They're novices in terms of being parliamentarians. They're trying to grasp the politics of the House. And they are trying to position themselves in the way that they are loved. They are trying to play by the book. They are trying to impress their constituents. They're also trying to impress the powers be within parliament. Within parliament, there are also what we call political brokers. Need to be seen. So because of that, they put up a show. And some of them, the show starts, sometimes the show is genuine. They want to serve. But until they realize the politics of the House, the politics of the House is that when you are elected as an MP, you start straight away to get preoccupied on how to get re-elected. That place is very addictive. It's like a drug. No one wants to get there and get out. And because you want to make sure that you get re-elected, you start to work towards re-election. But usually that sinks in towards around the third year. Also, it's important to note that many who join the House are heavily indebted. So you have to get in there and start to balance the act of how do I deal with my debts. Remember, there were many people who bankrolled you. If there were not many people, they were financing institutions that bankrolled you, all individuals, that money lenders that gave you money, loan sharks where you picked money from, whatever you call it. Many of them have loans, have debts. That's just another reality that changes how eventually they start to behave in parliament over time. Then also, when they get there, they realize that it's not about the best legislator. Because we have very, let me say it this way. We have a very, our politics is too abnormal. Our politics is rudimentary. It is the politics of the jungle. It's not about the best orator, not about the best legislator. It's not about the best brains. Otherwise, you'd be, if those who are the yardsticks of rewarding MPs, I think there would be very many of them that would be back in that August House. Or we will be having a very different parliament by now. But because it's not about who speaks well, who presents and defends bills on the table, who is representing more the constituencies, there are very many other factors that matter, that are very important to define and defend your flag as a parliamentarian. For example, the constituents, the voters have a very different yardstick of measure of a good parliamentarian. The voters, they have a different parliamentary scorecard. We the elites can sit here and argue that, okay, a parliamentarian is supposed to do A, legislate, oversight, representation, appropriation. Fair enough. But a voter who is responsible for having an MP in that house to some extent is going to measure the usefulness of an MP on depending on other factors like the social responsibilities the MP extends to the voter. Do you bury? Do you take kids do you help them with their social problems? Have you bought an ambulance? Basically, you are supposed to be an MP who, first of all, interacts with the community. So you have presence there, but you spend on them. You are a kind of like a father. You take care of their kids. You take care of their medical bills. You educate their children. You help them go through. You mourn with them. That's to them. That's an MP who is functional and working. Now, when those rights eventually hit an MP, it means that you now change the rules of the game. You realize that the thing that you require most to be in parliament is money. And who has the money? Who has the money is that you start to now look at parliamentary business as an opportunity to earn. You attach a premium on any parliamentary business that comes before you. You become a broker, you become a merchant, you become a charlatan, you do all sorts of things to make sure you get re-elected, to get money to service the needs of the constituencies, to manage propaganda, to even pay media houses to speak, what is it called? To speak to the gallery. So that you also fulfill those who say, he speaks about these things. I know media people who are paid to present certain MPs a certain way that they speak to the gallery. So when all those things start to play out, you realize that proper legislation in a properly functional democracy cannot work here. We have a very abnormal situation. To answer your question straight away is that it is very difficult, almost impossible, to have a parliament running normally. Thank you.
Priska, you've just heard Felix talk about it's very abnormal for us to have a parliament that runs normally. And if you recall, the late speaker had aspirations of transforming the 11th parliament to work for the people and have legislators who are good debaters and researchers. According to your own assessment right now, because you report directly from parliament, do you think these aspirations are being lived up to, or it's just a play game where parliamentarians are trying to deceive electorates that, okay, we're trying to represent you when they are after something else? What's your take?
Okay. Abel, I'm one of those people that do not believe in hyping the ordinary. As long as you're doing something within your duty, I do not see the reason as to why I should see it as abnormal or I should be shocked by what you're doing anyway. Because if I expect you to do a certain kind of a job and you're doing it well and fine, but if you're not doing it, then why aren't you doing it? So I think we were accustomed to the bickering between the past leadership of parliament. That is why when they see this leadership acting like this, they see it as abnormal, and it's quite understandable. And when the former speaker talked of wanting the parliament to work for the people, he chaired the committee that lifted the term limits, and did the public want the lifting of term limits at that time? And he was a deputy for 10 years. What stopped him from doing that? And what different was he bringing on board in his new term? Anyway, the question cannot be answered because his life was cut short, but it still plays to the same sentiments of talk. Ugandans have gotten tired of the too much talking. We have the three main TV stations. On Thursday they have political shows and they are talking. Hardly do they come up with solutions if you listen to them. Because personally, I got tired to listening to them because I listen to too many politicians about 8 hours in a day. So by the time I reach home, I need to take a break off. I listen too much policy. But the time back then when I listened to those shows, it was the same. Short of analysis, they are shouting at each other, things like that. And we also have BBC on Wednesday. So I think we have talked too much, and it's time for us to start working for the people. And now we are currently in the budget process, and one of the biggest issues currently on table is the hike in the commodity prices. But when you look into the budget, there is totally nothing that is going to address the commodity prices. You look at the issue of the fuel, and one would expect that by now government has money to give to to fill up the tankers in Ginger. I think that is where we have our storage facility, but there isn't even it still remains something that is unfunded. So for you people who are thinking these MPs are working for you, this is their own time to say you have to give money to UNOC. But as I talk right now, the budget committee yesterday said they are going into a retreat for about a week to finalize their topic. The budget committee has about 35. I'm not so exact of the number of MPs. So all those are going into a retreat. Do you know how much money that is going to be spent? Because they are going there, they are going to sleep there. You see that? You know, the millions of money, and each MP is going to be paid per diem each time they are there. So, and here you are, now the price of diesel is higher than petrol. So if they are to come to you and say they are working for you, these are the things you should, I want the two of you, when you meet any MP, and tell them what is in the budget for the commodity prices and fuel. And you get back to me and tell me the answers they are going to give you, because I've been lucky enough to cover the taxes and even the budget. You see that some of the committees, but I've not seen anything that is going to address the commodity prices, the biting issue right now. And the taxes, although they are bringing just new ones, they are not bringing new ones. They are just formalizing. But there is also nothing that is addressing. We know the issue of gold, the exports. We thought probably it will be one of the things that we are losing a lot of income through that. But so we need to start questioning the words that the MPs say. We are working for the people. Okay, what tangible things, what policies are you coming up with to work for the people? It's not a matter of this is the parliament of Uganda and you play to the girl and say, and you say the war and coffee. We know the person who is going to have the final say on the coffee, because when he says, I want to have this contract cancelled, he will. And I want the war hospital to kick off, it will kick off. You see that? And so it's now, right now, the issue of war is now a blame game. They went to parliament, you pass, you approve this thing and everything. So instead of them admitting that, yes, we made a mistake, let's try to rectify it. So, okay, you visit Luwa, and then what happens next? You see that? I want Ugandans to just demand for more actions and reduce their appetite for words, because as things go on, the commodity prices are not going to come down. See, they are telling you, they are telling you it's a global thing and everything. Yesterday I was returning home, the lady that I passed by in a kiosk say even the price of Royco has increased. Royco, you see that? Even the price of Kavera has increased. You see that? So those are the people you should listen to. She wants her grocery to gain more income, but now the prices. And now you are telling her this is the people's parliament. You're inviting them to eat pilau probably on Eid, and then they fill their stomachs saying what? The Muslims are telling you we want Islamic banking to take place. But for now 6 years, you're inviting them to eat pilau. Islamic banking is not taking place. You see that? So I think they should also demand for more than what is words alone. You cannot for 6 years come and do the same thing, yet you understand what their pleas is. The Muslims want an end to the discriminative prosecution. Every time a bomb takes off, they are the ones picked. Everyone with a beard. We've seen those jokes, and where a bomb takes off and they are pointing at Muslims to go to the salon to cut off their beard. That shows the sentiment. So I need an end. I know that our time is almost up. So I just need Ugandans to reduce more on the talking and demand for more actions, not settle for the bare minimum. When the MP talks about the war and everything, yes, then what next? I don't want Ugandans to settle for less. I mean, we deserve more than what our parliament is giving us. And it's time that they started working for us, not working for their political capital.
Thank you, Priska. Our time is fast spent, so I want to get your closing parting shots. I will start with you, Felix. What do you have for Ugandans and Parliament?
Thank you, Abel. My parting shots, I think, for me, it's the context within which our politics operates, especially the way Parliament is constructed and the way it operates, makes it very difficult for me to look at Parliament as a place where we can get solutions to the problems that we are facing. Priska talked about something we all know who has the financial Pinetti, and she's pointing to a bigger problem of how all these institutions have been rendered powerless, where power is now concentrating at the top. So, and I think for me, the starting point is how do we then as Ugandans, as stakeholders of this country, as voters, claim that power back, be able to hold these power centers that are very powerful in check and balance. And my final say is that, like Priska said, some of these things that Parliament is doing, they're solely their responsibility. There's nothing abnormal about them. But because of the abnormality of our Parliament, we even get excited when they are doing what is expected of them to do. But I think the standard of any Parliament functioning is known on what they should be doing. The 4 areas where against which we measure Parliament is known, and I think Ugandans should focus more on engaging Parliament, mainly from their cardinal roles as legislators, as people who are under oversight, accountability, budgeting, so that we now engage Parliament based on their actual terms of reference. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Priska, your parting shot.
I need Ugandans to be greedy for services. I don't want them to settle for less, always demand for more, because you are paying those taxes. Now, no one should think there is an attitude, people in office, the white collar jobs, thinking they're the ones who pay taxes. But even the person who is deep in the village is paying some VAT on salt and sugar and everything. So we are all entitled to these services, and I do not want them to be simply excited by the words their MPs are giving them, or even when they come during the campaigns, the salt or the sugar that they are giving them. They should demand for more permanent solutions. They should look beyond today's food, and what are my nieces, what are my nephews, daughters going to. You should live a better country than the one you found for your future. That is the kind of life that I want to Ugandans envisage, and stop settling for less. You should demand for more from this government and from this parliament, because you deserve it, and you are paying them to do that job. The MPs get their money, I think, by 16th of every month. Around 16th, 17th, 18th. Their salary is into their account. You are paying them to do that job, and it should not shock you that they are doing their job, because they are being paid for that services. And so I want Ugandans to develop more greed for service delivery, because they deserve it.
Thank you, Priska, and thank you, Felix, for your views. And I want to also thank our viewers outside here. Let's continue the conversation on our social media platforms. It is me, Abel Eseru. So today's other perspective comes to an end, but let's again meet next Wednesday, same time, same day, from 11 a.m. to 12 midday. Thank you. Have a nice day.